Hello, everyone. Right. It's been about an hour, no, not an hour, a day since the race, and we've finally got well, actually, I should get that up first. We've finally got our points in from F1 Fantasy. So, of course, I'll go over exactly how I did. I'd love to hear exactly how everyone else did as well. It couldn't have gone much better. It genuinely couldn't have gone much better for me. Of course, Ocon, we knew was going to get that minus 0.2. However, I'll talk about the budgets later on. He's looking good heading into Miami. And then everyone else got exactly what I needed from them to get that 2.3 million increase. Which, remember heading into this weekend, all I cared about was the budget. Because I got 2.3 million. And hopefully this weekend, I get 0.6, 0.6, and 0.6 from Ocon. Hopefully it's just a 0.2. So we could get 2.5 to 2.9 million increase in budget. So we're looking very good heading into Miami, which is definitely going to be a limitless. I've also just realised I haven't got the YouTube up. I always think I'm ready for the live stream, and then I go into it, and then I've got barely any of the stuff up. So let me get the chat up as well. So yeah. I'm sure some people are putting exactly how well they did. Let me mute that as well. Because, it couldn't have gone much better. Now, I'll go through exactly what each team looked like as well. But with Team 1, obviously Team 1 is the only real team I use in F1 Fantasy. I'm not really doing much else. Hey, how you doing, man? We'll see how Limitless goes. We'll see how Limitless goes, isn't it? But 209 points. It couldn't have gone much better. Of course, if Russell kept that P3, could have been better. But Ocon, 6 points, sets him up perfectly, like I said. Behrman, 5 points, good enough. Hadjar, 8 points. Again, Hadjar, 8 points. It should have been more, shouldn't it? He should have been able to get up to P9, P8. But, of course, Williams, fair play to them. They had a brilliant strategy on their hands of, well, basically, it's prime Jeddah for you. If you hit a train and the driver can't overtake, and I mean, it wasn't like Albon couldn't overtake Sainz. It was more, stick there for the team and you're both going to get into the points positions there. Hey, Nico, how you doing, man? Good to hear from you. It was that sort of thing. So Hadjar easily could have got more points. McLaren 86, easy peasy. I was a bit annoyed with their pit stops. They should have got a bit more on the pit stops. Same with Haas actually as well. Haas completely fumbled their pit stops. Didn't have a pit stop, I believe, under 3 seconds, which is just absolutely fantastic. How does that even happen? But the main thing that I was talking about before, if anyone was watching me before the race, what was it? I think even before qualifying as well, race and qualifying, I was talking about how Alpine, I wasn't set on them. And let me just show you exactly what would have happened if I had Alpine instead. Ooh! I know it hurts. It does hurt. And I'm sorry for anyone who did have this sort of team. Ooh. Pardon me. Because you lost out on, let's be realistic, a shit ton of points compared to everyone else. Plus, your budget didn't even go up any higher than any other one. 1.9 million is exactly how much budget I would have got from my Mercedes McLaren build, because I'll talk about that as well. This team here is the team I would have run in Jeddah. So I basically sacrificed 0.4 million. I sacrificed 21 points for 0.4 million in budget. Now for me, that's on the tinkering of worth it. I think both of these teams did perfectly fine. There you go, Pharaoh. I've stuck it up. Hopefully that's a bit better. But obviously that's the whole thing as well. Of Bortoletto most likely probably won't go up next weekend. Maybe he will. We'll see exactly what could happen there. But if we went into Miami, and let's say it was of course it's not going to be, but it's 1.9 million again over here, and 2.3 here. Realistically, it's probably going to be 2.5 here. And what would this be? 0, 0.6, 0.8, 1.4, 1.7. Yeah, so yeah, 2 to 2.3. Yeah, so probably around 2.5 to 2.3. So gaining an extra 0.6 million in budget. A little bit less than I thought it'd be for 21 points left. I'll put a poll in for that, actually, just for my team in general. Which is better? 0.6 million extra in budget. Potentially around Miami, lowballing it. Or 21 points flat out. Because in my head, that 0.6 million budget is a little bit better than 20 points because I'll make back that 20 points. But I can also see why someone would think the 21 points flat out is still better just because, you know, at the end of the day, F1 Fantasy still is about points. So it's one of those things. See, we'll see how that goes, but I might be in the minority about that. Ferrari had 2-second pit stops, so 0.01s from bonus 20 points. Crazy to see Ferrari be so dominant with pits. Yeah, no one's really been that good with the pit stop so far. I really thought, so if I, obviously bar Ferrari, that should be mentioned. Bar Ferrari, yeah, and Ferrari still haven't had a sub 2 seconds. No one's been great at pit stops. Like, look at these points. I really thought coming into this season, pit stop points would be massive for F1 Fantasy. And I mean, hey, for Ferrari, they have been. Because that would be the difference between Ferrari getting 49 points compared to 64, sort of thing. But for everyone else, like, McLaren's is all just their normal points. Mercedes, basically their normal points as well. Red Bull, I don't know what's going on with Red Bull, but they are just not getting the fastest pit stops at all. I don't know what's gone on there, but I don't know, maybe we'll see an improvement soon. I'd be surprised. But yeah, anyway, the other teams you could have had, obviously the Limitless. The Limitless works out pretty well for anyone who did use it. However, that's the issue, of course. That's the issue, because let me show you with the Limitless chip applied. This is why I didn't use it, and I'm still happy that I didn't use it, even though points-wise it did, pardon me, it did absolutely brilliant, because I would have had McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Doohan, Ocon, Behrman, Hajar, I think. I think that's what I ran in Bahrain, and then I probably would have done what Terry did. Let's just say I did what Terry did, of McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Norris, Leclerc, Russell, Verstappen. Yeah, so I don't like how it does that. But anyway, the gist of it is, that's what I was trying to get at, is that budget went up 1.1 million. Even though the Limitless, I know, I'll ask that later. Okay, so 60-40, it's almost 50%. People prefer the 21 points flat out. Fair enough, yeah, each their own. I'll ask you this now as well. Actually, yeah, I'll ask this. Which is better? 1.2 million extra in budget plus 1.2 million extra, I should mention, actually. Yeah, my bad. No, wait, no, hang on. Did I go up 2.3? Yeah, it's 1.2, right? Yeah, because... Oh, right. I see what you're talking about. The actual... Let me just get up the normal team of what I would have done, and then I'll get to my point of... Because it's easier if I just show it like that. Piastri times 2. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this here then. Someone could probably explain to me what I bloody did there. So 1.3. So what is better? 1 million less in budget. $1.0 less in budget plus Limitless, or Limitless in Miami plus 1 million more budget. I hope that sort of makes sense. Because I will give it to you all, the Limitless in Jeddah scored brilliantly, and I'm not annoyed. I'm not annoyed. But Verstappen's driver of the day was a massive differential. Even Norris getting the fastest lap compared to Piastri was great. Basically, the more points Piastri didn't get, the better for Limitless users, because most people would have had Piastri instead of Norris. But that's the thing. That's why I'm still happy sitting over here with my 209 compared to the Limitless of 321. Because let's get real, Miami Limitless is still looking good at least. I mean, I'm hoping it still is, depending on DNFs and all that stuff. But overall, like, as of speaking right now, it looks perfectly good. And I've gained an extra $1 million in budget that I would have had, and I still have a chance to do great in the Limitless. So I think it did work out better for me personally. I think, and I mean, so far in the poll, we've got 7 votes to 1. So I think most people would agree that that 1 million extra in budget with also a Limitless in Miami, because Limitless in Miami isn't bad. It could end up being worse, you know. Of course, that's the way it goes sometimes. But we'll see exactly. Hello, ATL. How you doing? How did you do this weekend? F1 Fantasy wise, I'm sitting pretty. Of course, I'm just showing around the sort of teams that would have been happening. So I showed what team I would have been using with the Limitless and how much I would have gained. So I'm happy with the budget increases. Of course, if you had Gasly, that's the other issue, because people like Adam, sadly, for him, because he had Gasly, he take that minus 0.6, and now I think he can't really use Limitless in Miami. It would be a Imola. Actually, right. I'll stop that poll in a second once I say this question, but that's another one I want to ask. I'll give you a spoiler. If you had Gasly or Alpine in your team, will you still be limitlessing in Miami or waiting for Imola or Monaco to make sure that you get the most out of it? How soon do you think you'll be able to afford 2 premium constructors and 2 premium drivers? I very much think I'll be able to get it by Monaco. So let me get up the actual F1 Fantasy game and show you like my team selection completely gone. So at the minute, actually, let me get up that poll as well while I'm at it. So 76% agree that was better. Yeah. So I think I'm in the same boat there. That it's ended up better because we get a shit ton of budget more. I mean, it depends what Bahrain team you had, because if you had a Bahrain team and it's gone up more than what my Bahrain team, but the issue is I think most people had that Bahrain team because obviously Bahrain, it was just clear cut. You use this team, you get on with your life sort of thing. What was I going to ask? Will you when will you use Limitless if you had Oh, actually, that's another question. Did anyone in this chat right now have Gasly and Alpine? Because that's a double whammy. In Jeddah, Miami, Imola, Monaco. Or, I don't know, later. I'll add later just in case anyone wants to. Oh, wait, did you... Oh, my... Ouch. Yeah, Declan. Annoyingly, that means... I don't even know at that point. At that point, you'd have to get rid of Gasly and Alpine and probably just move back to the Piastri McLaren Mercedes build to not lose out too much. Yeah, ATL, you're living life. 230, very scrummy. Actually, I'll show, what's it called? And 110 million, you're way above me in the global league at the minute, and only 0.7 behind. That's worked out pretty nicely. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, true. Alpine can still go up, to be fair. Would you risk it? I mean, I think I would. If you had Alpine, yeah, fair enough. I could see why. Is the McLaren Mercedes with Piastri 2 times, Ocon, Behrman, Hajar, Bortoletto build still viable for Limitless? Yeah, so let me go back to the budget building for a second. I'll show you exactly how close I am to the teams in a second. So that is the exact team I would have run in. So actually, it's the team I'm assuming ATL ran because 230. I'm assuming that's what happened. Sorry, pardon me. Yeah, that team is definitely still viable for next weekend. Not next weekend, the weekend afterwards. But you'll just have to know that people who ran my team will get 0.2 to 0.6 million more in Miami, depending on what happens. Extra to what happened in Jeddah. Most likely. Of course, it could still happen that Bortoleto goes up and then all of a sudden it's better to have 4 BTA drivers in Miami and all of that jazz. But from as we are speaking right now sort of terms, so 100% if you had McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, Hajar, Ocon, Behrman, Bottas, basically if you had the McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri teams, you can still limitless in Miami completely fine. It's just you'll be a little bit behind the people who had McLaren, Haas, Piastri, Russell teams, at least for now. If you had Gasly, I would say you got to wait, and I think from the poll, I believe most people will agree. So 25% still saying using it in Miami. I could see why you'd want to. You just have to be a little bit careful. I'm really burpy today. Sorry, everyone. You'd have to be very careful just because, what's it called? 1.5 million increase in budget. And then again, how many points does Gasly need? Gasly needs 41, so that's not happening. Gasly's going down 0.6 million again next weekend. If he gets over 28 points, I will do a whole completely different forfeit to my normal forfeits. That's how adamant he's not getting over 28 points unless he gets like top 4 finish in both the sprint and the actual race. So right, where does that lead me to? Right, so that's the whole point. So teams like this, all of a sudden, you're losing. Let's just use it as the 2.4. 2.4. The 2.3 sort of thing. Hang on. Yeah, I got 2.3. So you're 0.8 million down now. You're going to be around 0.8 million down again next weekend. So you're losing out 1.6 million in budget over Jeddah and Miami, which is a bit of an issue. And especially when Imola and Monaco actually seem completely fine to use limitless on. I could see why you'd focus on re-getting that budgeting working again and then moving over. Yeah, I'm going to limitless in Miami. Don't understand. I mean, as in just like, because obviously Gasly, he's going to be going down minus 0.6 million the next weekend. So would you still want to use limitless in Miami? For me, I wouldn't. I would be pushing it to Imola, which is what 60% of people agree. I got 209 points, 2.3 million increase in budget. Yes, because that's the other thing. Basically, sadly for F1 terms, but you know, we've got to go through some of these races. I mean, Monaco's still a great, spectacle, I could say. But Imola and Monaco, you're not going to get a lot of overtakes there. You just, the tracks are too small. So both of them very much viable for limitless in the same way Jeddah was like viable for limitless sort of thing. Yes. So if you play limitless, you don't get the limitless budget gains. You will get your team's budget gain. And that's what I was talking about here. Because if I stuck with my Bahrain team in limitless in Jeddah, yes, I would have got 321 points because this is most likely the team I would have run. However, I would have been 1 million down in budget. And basically, that's the whole beauty of it. I've now still got my limitless and Miami's just going to be as viable as Jeddah and I've gained 1 million in budget. So that's the whole gist of that. So I'm happy that I've got more budget and I'm not going to lose out on points. So it should be fine. For limitless in Miami, would you switch to Ferrari over Mercedes based off? Well, that's the issue in it. If you are focusing on limitlessing in Imola, I would say go for it. You could easily look to Ferrari as a better option. However, we can't. If that's the whole point of why we had to get Jeddah right, because if you use limitless in Miami, we've got to run the teams we had in Jeddah. So that's the issue. So I'll be sticking with Mercedes in my. No, I don't have Mercedes. My bad. Hang on. Did I read that right? Sorry, my bad. I completely did not read that right, Garrett. That is completely my fault. Yes, I am potentially looking at swapping Mercedes to a Ferrari as a constructor in limitless. I completely get what you mean. Yeah, I'll go off what I see in FP2 and FP3, but if Ferrari carry on with the way they're going, they don't look too shabby. So. And again, Red Bulls are no. Hi Zach, I need to improve my 105.3 million budget, but I also need to beat my friend. Yeah, right. So, how much these days is a Piastri McLaren build team running you back? Because realistically, if you're at 105 million, you can still run teams like this: Gabriel, Isaac, Ollie. Let's say you got Liam Lawson, McLaren, Mercedes. Right, so you can afford a team like this. I would very much recommend running a team like this in Miami if you're not using a chip and you've only got 105 million, because that team right there is 104.7 million, I believe, if I'm correct. Yeah, Austin, how are you feeling about it all? How much did you go up in budget? Because that was one of the big things. Because obviously it's gonna come into play later down the line. My bad, wrong thing. It's gonna come down later in the line. Which one was better, going for the budget increases or potentially that Jeddah limitless? But right now we'll see exactly how it goes. Some drivers will lose value when they score more points than others. Yeah, right. So basically, there's a free race average. That's why. Quengru. So I know it's a weird way how it does it. It's a very weird way. I completely understand why people don't get it. It took us a little while in the F1 Fantasy community to start fully understanding what the hell we were working with. So don't worry about it. Everyone's a little bit crazy on it, and well, that's the issue. Because look at, actually, can we appreciate this as well? Every 80 budget, a driver, it probably isn't going to go up 0.3 bar Piastri in Miami, which is quite interesting. Obviously, Russell will get to the 13, maybe if he's lucky, the 33. Same goes to Norris. We'll see exactly what happens. Overlord says, I limitless team 2, and it went all the way from about 25k to top 200. Not sure what to do with it now. You got Piastri, Ocon, Behrman, Hadjar, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes, 0 in the bank. Honestly, with that sort of team, Ocon, good for value in Miami. Same for Hadjar, same for Bortolo, same for Ocon. You stick with that team, Overlord, and you ride it till you can then go to those T8 to A-tier drivers. You're sitting very pretty. It's one of those things where you now just need to hold on while everyone else is building budget, because you can still build budget yourself with all of those teams, and also when everyone else uses Limitless over Miami or in Imola. Because that's the thing. Right now, I still didn't show what I was going to show, and I'll get to it in a bit. But right now, I'm sitting very much pretty for Limitless in Miami, because, what's it called? So I'm 67,000th in the world, which actually isn't good. Like, no, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's good for where we've been budget building, and I've been big on the budget building. But I very much expect that come Limitless next weekend, I'll be into the top 10k, I'm hoping, unless anything drastically goes wrong. But yeah, that's the plan at least. Ferrari honestly look better for Limitless. Yeah, I mean, with their pit stop points in F1 Fantasy these days, I completely agree with you. I have 104.3. I have McLaren, Williams, Piastri, Alex, Bear, Hulk, and Hadjar. I'm trying to get Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes as quick as I can. Well, honestly, you're only 0.4 off that sort of team. So you're very close to it. So I would say you've got to kind of just hold off on Miami, sadly. It would be nice if you could get over to Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes, but realistically, keep on that Piastri, McLaren, Haas sort of team. Or if you want to risk it for a chocolate biscuit, like people like Alpine have been looking good over the last few weekends. But again, like I keep mentioning to peeps, the reason I go for Haas, obviously for me, Limitless next weekend, Haas is brilliant. Assets there at -16, is just because they're so safe, and that's exactly what happened this weekend. Obviously, Williams still went up 0.6, and it actually probably would have been better to have Williams, but Williams are quite expensive now, so I don't think they're really in contention anymore. It's really Haas v Carb. I mean, even Aston and Alpine. And at the minute, Alpine is my favourite for points, but obviously 14 points, again, the same issue of, well, if they have a -20, it's an issue sort of thing. I'm rank 3001, 75 global, but I'm unsure how to set up next round since I didn't budget build. XN, so what is your team selection right now? Because I can help you out with that. Just send over your team on the chat. And I'll figure out exactly where the next step would be for your team. Oh, also your team value would be nice to work with. Would you build a budget building team in Miami if I intend to limitless in Imola? Well, that's the issue, isn't it? That's the other reason why I'm a little bit iffy on limitless in Imola, and why you could also just then wait till Monaco, because who's going to be running? And unless you have the budget, don't have the budget for it, I don't really recommend running McLaren and Haas in Miami. I would say you're just going to have to suck it up and go to McLaren Mercedes and just build that little bit less budget, because I can't in good faith be like, yo, run Haas on a sprint race weekend. It just doesn't make sense. I know Haas have had their crazy weekends, but you would have to make sure you didn't lose too many points, because limitless weekend, not limitless, sprint race weekends, there's a lot of points on offer and you can't cock it up too much. It's not like Jeddah, where obviously, like I mentioned, where my team was only 20-ish points off the meta team and I got that extra bit of budget. It's a sprint race weekend where if you run McLaren and Haas, more likely than not, that team is going to be 30 to 50 points off the meta teams, which becomes an issue. And then limitless, even more. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about that. So you'd have to sort of suck it up a little bit. If I have free transfers, do I keep them after Miami? No. So that's quite a common question, to be fair, where limitless, it is you only get 2 free transfers afterwards. So let me just show everyone exactly what my plan is for after limitless, okay? So right now, 110.7 million, right? I'll also show exactly how close I am to the Piastri McLaren, Piastri Antonelli builds, by the way, because this is what excites me. This is what I'm going to be trying to get to for. What are we talking? By Monaco-ish time, if we get the right transfers and all that bollocks. But 14.9 million, Antonelli's 19.6. I mean, you could drop it lower. Of course, if Jack eventually looks good, I wouldn't fully recommend using this, of course. I'm just using it as a reference to how close we are to potentially running these 2 8-year driver teams, because also I do feel like I would push it a little bit further until I could afford someone like Russell. But look, 3.5 million off. We are not far away from these teams. Now, would it work for budget building? No, and you've still got to think about budget. That's why I think it will probably be more Monaco, Spain time. But keep an eye on it. But anyway, what was I talking about? Because I wasn't actually talking about it. Yeah, right. What was I talking about? I've lost my train of thought. My bad. Oh, right. Yeah, no. My limitless team afterwards. So let me go back to my team. So I'll be having this team with 2 free transfers. And the gist of it is, Ocon, Behrman, Hadjar, for me, cannot crash. Of course, this is straight away what's going to happen. Either I go to Ferrari or I go to Mercedes. Either one I should have decent budget for. I'll show exactly what I would do if I went to Ferrari, because I could go Ferrari and then have Bortoletto, the likes of that. However, let's just say I went back to Mercedes because they looked okay. I would then find the next best B-tier driver. So let's say Fernando Alonso, he has a great weekend. I put him in there. Now, I would then also potentially take a 10-point negative transfer to use that free transfer to potentially get rid of Ocon or Behrman if one of them had a bad weekend, which is the good thing. I'm happy to take a -10. Like I've said this whole season, it's a bit weird, but we're in a situation where -10s aren't even that deep at the minute. So that's my thinking ahead of after the limitless in Miami. Also, for anyone coming in, don't even just look at my team 2 and team 3. I don't use them. I use them for thumbnails and all that bollocks. Right. Right now, oh, sorry, my bad. Yeah, XN, right, let me get to that. Yeah, so this is the thing. So XN's a good example of this. Brilliant start to the season. but slightly now an issue with the budgeting, because we're going to be seeing teams like mine and everyone else who are coming up the ranks slowly catching up. However, Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes teams are in your budget, XN. So I would say if you dropped Antonelli down to an Alonso, looks pretty good for budget. Could you afford Alonso? So we've got XN's budget of 104 million. Could you afford Alonso with this sort of team? So you have Hadjar, Ocon, Bortoleto, and Antonelli. Where am I missing the budget from? So right. So you don't have Ocon. No, you do have Ocon. Right, my bad. But you don't have Behrman. Right, right. Hang on. Am I missing a? Am I going crazy here? Bortoleto. That's who I'm missing. My bloody god. I was thinking where the hell is all of this budget gone? Right. So this is your team comp for now. Let me just get to your team comp. I'm over complicating this way too much. This is your team comp right now. 6.6 million behind. So if you've got 104.9, that means you are using, because I'm at 110.7. Quick maths. My brain is mush today. 0.7. So you've used 104.1 million. So you have 0.8 million in the bank. So straight away, you bring in Mercedes. And now, if you only had 2 free transfers, all you would do is either bring in Alonso, because Alonso looks good. Actually, I can show you. You'd either bring in Alonso, Lawson, or Behrman, depending on what you would want to do. No, depending on budget. And I know for a fact, because I've got 12 million there, that you've got about 6 million. So it would be Fernando Alonso you bring in. That should be your Team XN for building budget in Miami and still getting points for you coming in. Because we still need to focus on sprint race. It took me a while to get there, but that's the sort of team you'd want to look at. How do you guys have 100? A lot of budget building. So that's what we keep coming back to, Quenguru, because right now I'm only 67,000th in the world, but I'm going to be going up and up and up now each weekend because I can afford just big teams now. Because after Limitless, I would have used my Limitless, and I will be focusing on budget building with my B tier drivers, but I'll be very much be able to run Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes, or Piastri, McLaren, Ferrari, and then look at B tier drivers elsewhere. Yeah, perfect. I'm very happy that you can fit in that, because Alonso looks good for Miami, Hadjar looks good for Miami, Ocon looks good for Miami, and also because I don't know if you had the free transfers, Bortoleto looks good. McLaren, Mercedes, you look good on budget and you look good on points. You would sit pretty with that team. Sorry to insist. To make the Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes, I need 4 transfers. Minus 20 points. Joaquin, it depends on what you're coming from. So let's say... also, thank you everyone for watching. I've just realised we're up to 70 people. Thank you very much. Let's say you have a Piastri, McLaren, Haas team. I took the minus 20 in Bahrain, so I would have to incline that coming into a sprint race weekend. Taking a minus 20 would be worth it, 100%. But if you have wildcard, I'd say wildcard. Oliver says, I'm top 50k with 109.8 million. That's very good. That's a very good start for Oliver there. And I've used my wildcard to cover the minus 20. Yep. I don't plan to Limitless. Wow, sitting very pretty. I have 3 free transfers. Do you think Mercedes to Ferrari and Ocon to Alonso is worth it? Oh, my team is Piastri, Ocon, Hadjar, Behrman, Bortoleto. So Bortoleto actually looks fine for this weekend. Behrman same, Hadjar same, Ocon same, Piastri same. So yeah, what is the difference between Ocon and Behrman at the minute? See, now, this is bold of me, but I think if anyone's going to produce magic around Miami, it would be one of the Haas's. Haas just have this magic around them where they just score big. So I'd say actually stick with Ocon, and then depending on what the practice one is set... No, perfect. Depending on what sprint quali's saying, I forget it's a sprint race, so we can just look at the sprint quali results. That is also... My God, that is also what I was trying to say, and I kept on forgetting to say it for Limitless teams. We don't have to worry about exactly who we use for Limitless in our teams for Miami because we get to see the sprint quality results. Yes, I keep on forgetting to say that. That is also the other benefit of using Limitless at a sprint race. But yeah, that's what I would do, Oliver. Lawson beat Alonso and Jeddah with points. Yeah, Lawson's still a great option. I agree. Just for XN, they're exactly on that budget, so it would be Alonso. Is Limitless in Miami a good idea? Yes, fan. So just for what I said, you get to see sprint quality results, so you know who to pick realistically, and more points mean more prizes, that sort of thing. Now, the issue was that overtakes could make the B-tier drivers okay and shrink the actual differential. The difference in points you get from a normal team to a limitless team, but I think it's still worth taking that risk because the sprint race, like I said, more points because there's a sprint race where we can get points from, so I like the idea of using it there. Question, if I should use limitless after transfers, hang on, my bad. Question, is it XN, hang on, I'm having a brain freeze here. Question, if I should limitless after transfers, if you're talking about transfers, you can't limitless. If you use limitless, it will revert back to your Jeddah team, as in when you after Miami sort of thing. So Jack's sitting at 7.5k in the world with 111.15. That is okay. I think I found the best start to the season so far I've heard from someone. With limitless still to come. Got Haas Boys Hadjar already in place. Yeah, Jack, you're sitting very pretty. Use limitless in Miami. I'd 100% agree. So if I ran Piastri and McLaren Merc, would you still play limitless or just keep budgeting? Yeah, I would still limitless in Miami if you had Piastri, McLaren Merc, unless you had Gasly. If you had Gasly, get him out of your team and then focus more on Imola or Monaco. Marco says, my current team... hang on, sorry. Samso says... Oh, no. I've already done that one. My current team is Piastri, Behrman, Hadjar, Ocon, Bortoletto, McLaren, Mercedes. I have 3 transfers. Is a good choice if I sell Ocon, and Bortoletto for Ferrari, Alonso. Sorry, I said Alonso twice. Lawson. Yeah. Marco, you're dead on the money right there. That's the brilliant thing about sprint quali, isn't it? You just check. So if Ferrari looked faster than Mercedes in sprint quali, you go for that. If Alonso looked better than Lawson, you go for that. Simple as that. I know it's not the greatest advice because it's literally just watch and then do exactly what it shows, but I wish I could show you some magic orb telling you which one to do. I mean, points wise in F1 Fantasy, I can go off that and say that Ferrari do look like the better asset at the minute, so I can say that. So it does look like a good option for now, but obviously what's better than set in stone, because that's basically what sprint quali is. I ran different teams than you in the first 4 weeks and got a little more points, but also had the same budget on you. I could potentially copy you. Hey, what's going on here? No. So a be a day. What you want to do is you actually want to play this team. Yeah, this is the best team you can run. So Sauber have Hulkenberg and Bortoletto, Drivers' World Champion potential. Then you also want to run... Who else would you want? You also want to run Aston Martin, Lance Stroll. He's just absolutely brilliant. Best driver on the F1 grid. Piastri, you wouldn't want someone like him. You would want... you would want Lance Stroll himself. And you would also want Nico Hulkenberg. You'd want double Haas, double Aston Martin, and Jack Doohan. And yeah, that team would definitely beat me. So I think you should use that team. only 66.2 million for me in the bank. That's nothing. Hey, I use Limitless. Yeah, the green team. Surely if it's green, that means good, right? I used Limitless for yesterday's race. My current team is the same as yours from Bahrain. In my position, where would you go from there? Let me revert back to what I had in Bahrain. La-da-dee, la-da-doo, la-da-dum. Where's Mercedes? There they are. What I would do is, correctly like people said, if you have enough money and Ferrari look good, you could swap over to Ferrari. However, the more important thing is get rid of Doohan, and you want to get Doohan down to either a Bortoletto, Alonso, or Lawson. Either one doesn't matter too much. Don't use Hulkenberg. So let's just stick Alonso in because... no, actually, Bortoletto, just because that also affects with the way I'm talking about with the Ferrari. Because then you could also bring in something like this, depending on your budget. That's the sort of, like, transfers I would be looking at for you, big man Rizzo. Yeah, no problem, fan. No. It's all good. Sometimes it is a brain fart from me as well. Garrett says 109.9 million good at this point. Yeah, mate, honestly, I would say you've got two options at the minute right now where you are at the minute. So you've got XN, who is trying to hold on to his positions right now. I keep on using XN as an example, but it's not a bad example, but you've got two separate, like, sort of strategies. You've got XN, who's around 105-ish million, so the budget's a little worrying. However, you're in the top 5k, you're sitting pretty there. That looks very good. Or you're like me, like Garrett as well, 108 plus, I would say. Actually, yeah, 108 plus, and you're sitting pretty right now. That's the low end, though. You really would want to have around 110-ish million at the minute, which Garrett is just at, and that's fine, because then we're around 40,000 to 80,000 if we haven't used Limitless, and we're about to use that and catch up to everyone. So we'll see exactly how it works, but that team budget is very good. You'll be able to use 2 A-tier drivers and 2 A-tier constructors, hopefully by Monaco or Spain, or maybe like Canada if you want to like hold out for a Piastri Russell sort of team. So you're living life. Oh, sorry, and then I didn't get to the rest of your question. At this point, it's blah 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 blah. Keep running McLaren Leclerc. Yeah. For Miami, McLaren, Mercedes, I'm 100% on, just because it's a sprint race. You need to be still focusing on budget, but I would take the 0.3 million less from Mercedes to make sure you're getting that good budget. How many points did you score yesterday with Haas and McLaren? Well, that's the thing. I did really bloody good considering what team comp I had, and that's what really made me happy, because I got 209, and bear in mind, I gained 2.3 million. So, correct me if I'm wrong, because someone may have got better team changes, but 2.3 million was the max I believe you could have got in budget, and it probably will be this team again that could get the max good team budget increases in Miami while I'm playing Limitless. So that's why I'm happy, because I was only around 20-ish points behind. Well, actually, I say 20-ish points behind some of the teams I would have used before, but 0.4 million up. But of course, you have people who use Gasly, and I got the same points plus 0.8 million more in budget. So it really did work out quite good for me in the end, especially keeping Haas. I got a lot of slack for it in the quali live stream of people talking about the expected points, and that's why I don't go too much into the expected points, because a lot of people, rightfully so, because Alpine probably should have scored more than Haas, but I was just sticking on it. If you were going for a team like that in Jeddah, it was all about the safety of it. It wasn't about getting a lot of points. It was just about getting that budget increases. I'll use the green team when I Limitless. Yeah, true. That's the thing. If you could sit through a full weekend in like Imola with that terrible team, hey, you'd get some great budget, but that's about it. Yeah, Seth. That's a painful one. Actually, let me ask this, because I haven't asked this yet. Which second team, because did you use brackets with McLaren? Because let's get real, everyone had McLaren in their team. Alpine, Haas, because this gets a bit of a view for what each strategy was and who got unlucky, who didn't. So you'd see people who went second team of Mercedes went for points, potentially Limitless also in Miami sort of thing. But also Alpine are the people who got really unlucky and didn't go for Haas instead. So, and I think there is quite a big, there's a swing that I think like 33 sort of thing, which makes it very interesting coming into the next few weekends. Because I will say, this is the first time this season, I think I am stoked. I really wish that Miami was this weekend, because right now we've had sort of we've had one, maybe two, like, lines of teams you could use in F1 Fantasy, and it's like a splitting of timelines sort of bollocks, where we've now got people like me limitlessing Miami, where we went pure budget. You got people who went points and are gonna limitless in Imola. You got people who limitless in Jeddah and went for sort of a middle ground sort of view. You've got the people who had Alpine, and now you've got not Alpine. People had Gasly, and now got to get rid of Gasly. So we've got so many different strategies going on now. We're not going to see very similar. Well, we will see similar teams, but we'll see different strategies for the next 3 to 4 race weekends, which really makes me excited for the whole game. Oh yeah, sure. Basically, for anyone who doesn't know, actually, I'll show the better one. For anyone who doesn't know, I don't use Team 2 and Team 3 because I use them for like live streams like now, and I use them for what's it called? I use them for thumbnails. I'll show you like what I'm talking about on the thumbnails. So basically, what I would do is, so if I need to show someone Limitless, I can just go onto this team, and I have no stress about ever having used Limitless on this team, so I can always show exactly what I'm thinking for Limitless. So I would go, oh, for Miami, I'm thinking of doing this team. And then it's like, oh, well, if I used it there to show what I'm doing, it doesn't matter. But also I could revert back, doesn't use it, but it's not risks worthy. I could also be like, oh, look at me. This is how I would use 3 times sort of thing. I'd put it on blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't matter. So I always have, yeah, I said cancel. Whatever. I might actually have just used my extra DRS, so don't do what I just did. Whatever, let me just refresh it. But this is what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter if I do all of these crazy things on my Team 2 or Team 3. So that's what I use them for. I won't be able to use Limitless in Miami because I had Gasly, but I have a budget. Ooh, Roberto, that's a nice budget. Wow, you would have had 111. That's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I understand. Just make sure you stick to that McLaren Mercedes Piastri builds. Get a bit more points and budget in Miami, then work your magic in Imola. Cam says, scored 247 points in Saudi Arabia. Oscar 2 times. Alonso, great call, by the way. Hadjar, Bortoletto, Behrman, McLaren, Ferrari. Another great call on the Ferrari. Yeah, you're sitting pretty. You could also still use Limitless, and that's really nice. What's it called? Where is it? What percentage owned is Merc, Haas, and Alpine right now? Let me show you that exactly. So Mercedes is 19%. Sounds about right. Bear in mind, I'm really surprised McLaren's only 37%. Haas 23%. Sounds about right. Williams is still 28%, and Racing Bull's 28%. That's absolutely crazy. I'm not surprised by Haas and Mercedes, but Alpine I'm a little bit surprised with how low they are. Interessante. Oh god, I lost that with Alpine. Should have stuck with Haas. Yeah, that was the whole thing I kept on rambling on about, innit? I just kept on going. It's not because in my head I was like, right, I'm already getting less points this weekend going McLaren and Haas, so I'm not risking it. And it was one of those things where I just it was unlucky. Look, let's get real. It was a racing incident between Tsunoda and Gasly. Gasly probably shouldn't have been around the outside of that corner. However, I think he was ahead of Tsunoda. I think he was, but it's one of those things where it's like where was Tsunoda supposed to go? That sort of thing. I believe I've got 2 notifications. Let's have a look what they are. They're nothing too crazy. They're just other stuff. Yeah, make sure to follow me on Twitter as well. I go through all of this malarkey on Twitter as well. But anyway, that's what I was going to show, because obviously on my thumbnails, I show you exactly how I do it. I just go over to Adobe if it's going to show. My Wi-Fi is actually dreadful. Even my Team 2s and 3 are for fun. Got 10k bet riding on Team 1 with friends, but damn! Hang about. Which currency is that? Because I'm hearing 10k and I'm extremely worried. Yeah, you know what? I'll run the green one in my team 3 as well. But yeah, basically, as you can see, all of my stuff down below. This is how I make my thumbnails, and I'll use the photos from the other teams to make sure I don't just cock anything up once it loads for you guys. Currently running Piastri, Russell, Ocon, Behrman, Hadjar, McLaren, Haas with 1.4 million budget. What to do? You now have got to you've got to run Limitless in Miami. Like me, we'll get a lot of budget gains there, and then we'll deal with our teams in Imola, sort of thing. Right, yeah, no. And then quickly, because I haven't realised how long I've been streaming, and I said it was going to be a short one today. I'll get to the poll, actually. 45% on Mercedes, 42% on Haas. So pretty much split between who's going where on the budget or points. And then Alpine, 12%. So at least, I know it's not much consolation for anyone who did have Alpine. At least most people didn't have Alpine, at least in this chat. That probably makes it even worse for Alpine as a constructor. Oh, God. Let's have a T3 challenge. We both use green shit teams and see who scores. Yeah, God. Right. How are we going to do this then? Right. Okay. Aston Martin kicks Sauber, the GOATs. Now, what's the next closest colour to green that we have? Magnus, this is my Limitless team right now. No, of course not, of course. My Limitless team is... it will most likely be Norris, Piastri, Verstappen, Russell, Leclerc, and McLaren, Ferrari. So very similar to the team that was run in Jeddah. And then maybe a Jack Doohan. Maybe a Jack Doohan over here. I think that's a pretty decent team. Two times Lance Stroll. 100%. He's the GOAT. Now that's what you call a team. That is what you call a team. Sorry, right. I've answered that. What about using 3 times in Miami and Limitless it right after in Imola? So you can do that. My issue is extra DRS is normally better in the later seasons because our teams are better. We could do Piastri, Russell, McLaren, Haas with a 3 times. And we've got 2 A drivers and 2 A constructors. Oh my gosh, mate, that is still quite a bit, to be fair. I think that's about 5-ish K. But, mate, good luck to you, and hopefully I help you along that way. God damn. You know, fair play. I like the balls on you for that. Oh God. But yeah. That's why I normally use 3 times on, let's get up the summary, or the statistics, I believe it's in. That's why I also use it in a sprint race. Normally I use it in Kota, Brazil, or Qatar. Last year I think I used it in Qatar. Probably this year, probably use it in Kota, depending on what we know, sort of thing. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Let me get back to this sort of team. So for anyone who doesn't get the gist of what I'm doing, I will be limitlessing in Miami, going over to Piastri, Norris maybe with the 2 times, because we've seen him do well there before in Miami, but again, we'll see what the sprint quali's saying. With Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, McLaren, Ferrari for now. Again, could switch to Mercedes if Mercedes look good, but Ferrari with the pit stop points look great as well. Talking points, Ferrari versus Mercedes as an A-tier constructor. Right now, we've got to give it to Ferrari. Again, points and pit stops. Piastri still looks like the best A-tier driver. B-tier driver-wise, Behrman, Hadjar, Lawson, Bortoletto, Alonso, Ocon, all doable. Pardon me. The rest of them, I worry about a little bit. Albon, good for points. However, like we've seen before, he's just a little bit too much these days. The poll had just ended. It's basically a lot of Mercedes, a lot of Haas. What I sort of expected, a 50-50 split between strategies. And yeah, that is it. Thank you all so much for watching. I will be back on your greens. Well, I'll be back on Wednesday with just a normal F1 video. Same as Wednesday and Friday, a normal F1 video. My fan amp preview will probably be around Saturday, Sunday. I can't remember exactly when we're recording that, but around that time. And then the exact same process: Monday, Wednesday, normal F1 video, Friday F1 fantasy video, post sprint quali. And I love doing those videos because I literally just have to go, right, this is what happened in sprint quali. It's basically a sprint quali summary, and I have to go, oh, this guy qualified quite bad actually, so you might want to have Norris 2 times because he's starting 17th or something, or Verstappen starting 18th, you know, or they're all top 5, so you're like, you got to stick them in your team sort of thing. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Just watch Sainz crash and I will score less. I would not be surprised, not at all, not gonna lie. Sainz, so to be fair, he's getting used to that car now though, I'll give him that. My third team now: Sauber, Aston, Hulk, Alonso, Stroll, Lawson, Sainz. My goat Doohan's gonna be starting. Actually, hang on. It would be so funny. I didn't even mention this as well. Doohan might not even be racing very soon, so also be careful if you have him in your team just for that. But anyway, as always, it has been a pleasure. Thank you all so much for watching me just absolutely waffle on about F1 Fantasy. It's been a great season so far. Hopefully everyone's having fun with F1 Fantasy. I actually think F1 Fantasy is growing into the season. Last weekend, the live streams over at FanAmp and on Range channel as well, they're getting even bigger views. So I think this is weird this season. We're actually getting more and more, maybe because it started so late, who knows. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for the support. Like and subscribe if you have not already, and I'll see you all on Wednesday. Take care.